Yo, people, lateness is greatness. Second stream of the day, but the debates have to keep rolling in. I'm joined by NiiNii, BlueLionsTV. Bro, how are we doing? Welcome back. Lots to discuss.
Been a while, man. Obviously, summer's officially here now. News coming left, right, and center. You know what I mean? We've even seen journalists trying to regurgitate the same storylines, trying to get a piece of the action right now. So, yeah, man, summer's truly here.
Literally the first day of the transfer window, and bang, all the news stories are just flying out. We got manager merry-go-round a couple of weeks ago, which has obviously changed everybody's transfer targets. It's been nuts, but there's so much to talk about. I mean, obviously the two headlines today, which is Hakimi and then Haaland, really has been going on for the whole week. But I guess we'll start with Hakimi, because I think everybody's got different opinions on this topic, and it's quite difficult to really zone in on just one clear thought, because there's so many variables to it as a Chelsea fan, whether you're looking at the future, whether you're looking at now, whether you're wanting to get behind Tuchel and back him, but you're also thinking about, you know, using your resources in the right way going forward. I mean, what's your basic take on the whole situation right now with this move?
Obviously, for me, you know, I'm not going to lie and say it's not like a positive move, positive link. Obviously, I've got my thoughts and opinions behind, you know, what message are you saying in regards to the academy? You know what I mean? But I feel like both frames of mind, both arguments can coexist in the same sphere. I don't think, like, you know, you have to necessarily be anti-Hakimi because maybe you have thoughts about, you know, giving opportunities to the talents we have, because let's not act like we don't have a name for producing some of the best right-sided players in the youth team right now. And you know, I keep trying to. I feel like I've been saying the same thing for years now. Problem is not no ordinary academy. Like, imagine you had a kid here, and imagine that your kids was playing for Chelsea Football Club in the academy. You know how gassed you're gonna be, because you understand that's like parents seeing their exactly. That's like parents seeing their kids going into Oxford or Cambridge, or you know what I mean. You're going. That's the levels. So I feel like that can't be
understated.
Dismissed at the same time. But however, you know, Hakimi, 22 years old. Obviously, you know, I like his story. He left Real Madrid because he knew the talent he has, balled out at Dortmund, of course, and then won the first league title at Inter Milan. And I mean, guy's an incredible player. So, you know, I definitely can see how it can work. I can see the benefits. And let's not forget, man, this guy can play left wing back, right wing back. If we're letting Emerson go, you know, I can't imagine Alonso getting too much game time. When Hakimi plays on the left, he can cut insides, run insides, you know, bring a different threat to the team. Down the right hand sides, you know, there's so many variations you can use him in. You know, against the low blocks, you want to push really high up. You want him to interchange with Reece James. And there's so many options. And, you know, one thing I like to say all the time is Tuchel. He wants to have a team. He wants to have a squad where he has solutions to every single issue that could possibly come up, because he's a guy, foresight, he's always thinking ahead, and that's why we got success last season under him.
Do you know what it is with this deal? I've thought about the pros, not many cons, but there are a few cons, and I've weighed up everything. And I think one of the things that we have to appreciate as Chelsea fans is, first of all, how far we've come, because it's not long ago we were linked with Fernando Llorente and Andy Carroll and Ryan Fraser and all these guys and good Premier League level players. But this is how far we've come now, where we've been linked with these guys to now being linked with Hakimi's and Erling Haaland, some of the best talents in world football. And at least now Chelsea at least targeting world-class players in positions. It's not, you know, take for instance, we were linked with Adama Traore maybe last week. I wasn't as really keen because, one, I thought, yes, he's athletically, you know, extremely going to exceed everybody else on the pitch. He's going to create angles. He's going to be very dynamic and stretch the pitch 100%. But the end product, I'm not too sure. I'm not really sure if this is going to boost the starting 11 and really say to yourself, okay, Reece James, you need to move position. You need to move to right side centre back. Are you really technically above him? Probably not for me. So at least with Hakimi, you can see you're going to improve the starting 11. And I mean, the first thing that comes into it before we go into the youth, in terms of the point that you made about probably Livermento. First of all, Reece James has been playing right side centre back for a few games now. He got moved for the Champions League final. I mean, do you like him in that position? Because personally, I do see a future for him at right side centre back, but people are very split on it.
I mean, obviously, as he was making his name at Cobham, I mean, these guys, they learned to play in every position. He was playing right side of a centre back lots of times, playing right back, playing right wing back. That's the talent we produce. So, you know, of course, he can easily adjust to that role. I don't feel necessarily, though, that, you know, even though Hakimi is top class, let's not get that wrong. I don't think that guarantees him getting a first team spot. I think what we're doing right now is we've got excellent players ourselves. I don't think we can even debate that, to be honest. Yeah. We're just adding to that. And when you add to that, as we're seeing with the, you know, maybe the teams that were close to just being able to overcome, you know, Man City's, maybe your Bayern's, etc. Maybe the overall strength of the squad could be, you know, it's stronger. Let's keep it real. So yeah. I definitely think someone like Hakimi, due to the versatility and also the opulence he brings, you know, he adds to what is a very strong team, and you know, the excellence is now going to be maintained at this level instead of maybe dropping a little bit when other guys come in the team.
Do you know what it is as well? The point that you made about him being able to play on the left is something that probably shifted me from being unsure to on board, as long as we take our priority targets first. Because I've never been too keen on Alonso or Emerson. Yeah. I think Alonso for left wing back. Look, we know he's going to give you goals. He's going to give you those clutch moments. But in terms of consistent level of performance, if Chilwell was to get injured, I wouldn't be too confident. And on top of that, I always want my players out wide to have a bit of pace, especially for the recovery, defending transitions. You know, you've already got, you know, Jorginho on that left-hand side of that pivot, who in transition we know we need to protect. To then have Alonso not really getting back as quickly as a Chilwell is a concern as well. And Emerson, I just think, needs a new place to settle in now and get regular game times. You know what I mean? So
he needs to go.
100% he needs to go. I mean, listen, I remember doing up Justin for Emerson hashtag. Do you know what I mean? Because we wanted to see him on the pitch. I was speaking to Alex about it a few days ago.
Yeah, a long time ago, man.
Yeah, man. That ship has sailed, and I think it will be good for him to get back to Serie A, which seems to be where the most of the links are. And I think he'll turn out to be a very good player over there, but he just needs to settle. So the fact that Hakimi can play on that side, that kind of stops us from entering the market and bringing in a squad filler or someone of a Baba Rahman or one of these players that, you know, they're not really going to play too much. They know they're deputy to Chilwell and they can't really make an impact on the squad. I've got to ask as well, I mean, what have you seen from Hakimi? Because I've seen your video earlier about, you know, just looking at him from analysing standpoint. Obviously, he's paired up with Haaland and Lukaku, two strikers we're interested in, and connected very well with them in terms of chance creation. What have you seen from him in that Inter Milan team that won the Scudetto that says to you, okay, cool, this is worth pursuing?
I think for me, you know, I like to look at obviously the things Tuchel was trying to bring to the team, and some of the things that weren't able to work at the time because, you know, we had to turn to the market to get them solutions. You know, for me, seeing the experiment of seeing Hudson playing right wing back Adoy, you know, Pulisic there as well too. I could see what he was trying to go for, but you know, these guys play better further forwards. You know what I mean? Hakimi, the guy is a super athlete. The pace, the directness, he knows what the time his runs. He can run infield. He can run on the outsides. One thing I'm always saying all the time, I think when I look at certain players, we're labeling them being excellent, etc. How consistent, how much quality are you going to show when you're playing at pace? You know what I mean? Where you don't have time to, you know, be dadding like on the ball and wasting time and wondering what you're going to do. You need to be a step ahead every single time. And of course, with someone like him on the outsides, with how Tuchel wants us to create those overloads, those overlapping runs in behind, I definitely can see a situation where one thing I noticed is that Hakimi's pace allows him to get in behind, so open up them angles for the cutbacks. I think that's always one of the classic goals to score. And to be honest, we ain't scored enough of like one of the, for me, standard goals for like a big team. You know what I mean? So instantly that's going to bring something to the team for, you know, certain games that we've struggled in. And I think that's where it's going to be very useful. Now, of course, though, if you're going to sign him, you need to have someone up front who's going to be bearing them chances. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I don't think it's as simple as Hakimi just coming in and then boom, instantly, like we're like a much better team. For me, we could actually survive if we sign no one else, just getting a striker. I think that was a big difference compared to any other position, to be honest. But I mean, you know, I can see it happening. You know, Ben, Reece, Hakimi. I mean, we look at how Man City use their fullback. So is Walker really like a number one like that? I look at football today, and you know, I look at Alphonso Davies at Bayern Munich. I mean, you know, based on how you know how much he's rated, you'd assume it's naturally that he's playing week in, week out. But it's not really like that anymore. It's about the rotation, picking the right squads for the right opposition, and just having a squad that is just strong everywhere instead of hierarchy, who ranks here, who ranks there. So, I definitely feel like Hakimi does add to that.
The fullback areas in football have actually become incredibly important, I mean, you look at modern football now, you look at Liverpool, obviously Trent and Robertson, they're absolutely critical for their team. Man City have made it very clear to splash a lot of money on fullbacks over the years and try and get that mixture and chemistry right. Cancelo, we've seen this season, kind of control games from his position. He's moved over to left back as a right footer and still played the same way. I think when you've got a manager who's as tactically, secure as Tuchel is, and with the amount of ideas that must be flowing through his head in 90 minutes to change or tweak or have in-game management and change formations in-game. I think to give a man of that talent as many tools as possible to be flexible in-game is the key here, because Hakimi, like you said, he plays a variety of positions. I think his strongest for me would be right wing back, but he's shown he can play the left side as well. I remember he scored a belt. I was watching, and I said, one of your videos early, he scored a left foot screamer. I took you by surprise. I was looking, I was like, okay.
That's
nice. All right. Is that what we're doing, Hakimi? Do you know what I mean? It's a lovely cut in, shot with the left foot, and he played on the left-hand side for Dortmund a few times as well. He's no stranger to using his left foot. And people have, articulated to me a lot that he can play up even further forward in the winger positions. He's even said that himself as well. And, that, again, that brings other players into the fold in terms of their futures. But I think just the base point I'm making is that when you've got a manager like this who's clearly very, very intelligent, I've always been a big fan of being able to switch formation in game. I want to keep the three at the back because I think don't change what is already a winning formula. But when you play someone who's that advanced, that right wing back, and then Chilwell, who can clearly by nature is a left back, you can shift and move them and push that Hakimi up to right wing and bring Chilwell back and move it over to a back four, and suddenly you've changed your shape in game, and the other team have to react to that, and it's a counter that you can just keep doing in game, and not many teams can adapt to that. So
I think it was absolutely spot on. I think we've been seeing signs of that too last season quite a lot of times. We got a good team that understand how to play football, got very high tactical understanding of the game as well. I mean, for me, maybe it surprised me just how quickly everything just kind of syncs up, to be honest. It made me realize just how good these guys are. So, Hakimi is definitely going to bring some positives to the squad if we can obviously get this done. And of course, you guys, shameless plug, but if you want to obviously hear what Matisse has been talking about, the reaction video after this live stream, you know where to go, But obviously, jokes aside, I do also think, though, not everything is constantly just that rosy. I feel like Hakimi for me is an interesting signing, because if you're committing this money to sign him, this outlay on him, I feel like that does have future repercussions for the team. And I know, like, sometimes talking about the future is not the most popular thing with fans. We get more, hooked up with what's happening here and now. We don't think about what's going to even happen 1 month from now. You know what I mean? But I do think that if you're committing to that, that is maybe signifying that, okay, back three is going to be one of the main systems for the future. And, and I think if that's the case, then you got to analyze what could be potential pros and cons. Like, of course, if Tuchel ever left, and I'm not saying that because I'm hoping whatever, but let's just be serious. It's Chelsea football club. You know what I mean? Us, the managers, we don't go too well together, to be honest. Could I trust the club to get another manager to continue that? Or are they going to go get some next man? Who knows? And at the same time, if you're committing to like a back three, obviously we've got a very young team. So what does that say about their future development? Like Mason Mount, is he ever going to really be like the number 8 we all assumed he would be? Or can he really do that playing under Tuchel in a potential back three? Something like Reece James, of course, when that game against Sterling kind of cemented it, to be honest. People were talking about how Sterling wasn't good in the game, which is an absolute disrespect, because James absolutely nullified him. And, he's one of them guys where he's kryptonite to the small, tricky wingers, because he's so like stocky, got such a good low center of gravity. And once he gets in front of the ball, you can't get around him, you can't get past him. He knows how to use his body expertly. And this is a guy that can go to even higher levels as it goes on. So I do feel like that has to be considered in the future. However, you know what I mean? With teams in football, most times these systems last 3-4 years until you've got to like reshape and stuff. And maybe, you know, after seeing the success of it, and let's keep things real too. In this club, your Masons, your Jameses, they were all playing back three systems plenty of times. And when you see in modern football how abundant it is everywhere, look at the Bundesliga, for example. Maybe it's time for us, maybe like, I don't know, get with the times in a sense.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah. Just to build on that as well, I think for me, Reece James is an interesting one because obviously he's the person that directly is affected in most people's eyes by Hakimi. And we're going to get into not maybe the cons, but the worries in signing Hakimi that you've touched on as well. But I think when it comes to Reece James, I've been a big flag flyer of him playing that right side centre back. It's not just because he played in this role in the youth academy and that he does have more defensive awareness and understanding than a lot of people give him credit for. He does have the build for it as well in terms of being a stocky guy, similar more to Ivanovic, but then going forward with that crossing ability just has a bit more to offer. And I think to myself, in a possession-based team, sometimes we mirror and make the formation the style of play, and that's just not how it matches up. You know, you look at many teams, Nagelsmann's teams, they play a back three and they're very expansive and attacking. And I think to myself sometimes, why do we as a fan base correlate a three at the back system as a negative formation? Under Tuchel, we created a lot of chances, a high volume of chances, and we really just needed a finisher. Defensively, we were sound, and we had a very balanced team. And I look at the centre-backs that are coming up through the ranks in Mark Gahey. I think he suits this as well. You know, I think if you're putting young centre-backs into a team, a back two is putting more pressure, more demands on them, more responsibility. If you put a back three, there's cover. There's places to be, your tracks can be covered. You can be looked after and helped in a way. And I think to myself, I think Reece James can step into the midfield from that position, as Aspie did under Conte, and he can make those crosses from that right channel. So when people say that Reece James will be limited, I don't really see that, because when I look at Reece James, I don't see him as an out-and-out winger who, 1v1 looks to skip past players, which is something that you'd look for in a wing-back when you're coming up against a low block sometimes. And maybe like a Callum Hudson-Odoi at the start of Tuchel's time, he used Hudson-Odoi as this wing-back to get forward and push their defenders back. And against Tottenham in that win, I mean, the wing-backs, I believe it was Alonso and Hudson-Odoi, I think, they were basically at the top of the pitch in line with the striker at times in average position. So, I think, I think it's not so much of a problem with Hudson, with James. I think more the issue people have is Livermento. Now, I know you follow the youth, and I'm sure you rate Livermento very highly. He's obviously Academy Player of the Year. Do you have any massive concerns about him not making it? Because I think he's got a year left on his contract anyway. So, I mean, there's debate as to would he even sign the contract anyway, regardless of this news.
Yeah, I think you're obviously right about that. Obviously, interest from Aston Villa and AC Milan looking into him. And, it's not the first time that European clubs have been trying to stack these guys up. I remember years back when Leipzig were trying to sign Reece James back when he was like 16 from the academy, for example. And there's other guys there as well that I'm hearing getting interest from your RB Leipzig and your other clubs in Europe too. So, the conveyor belt ain't stopping anytime soon, to be honest. And, I feel like maybe these next gen youth guys are thinking, well, but I know I'm good and I'm not going to be waiting to get odd minutes and breaking at 22, 21. It doesn't work like that. So I just feel like if they feel like they had to go, they'd have to go. And, mate, it's the mid ones with big clubs, Like, I look at the contradictions in football sometimes and I'm like, okay, big clubs, the academies, they've got the biggest ones, the best ones, they spend the most money there, get all the best young talent that's emerging from the teenage ranks, whatever. But then it kind of feels a bit redundant once they get to 18, because then obviously, the priorities are completely different because shit gets more real. The big clubs are literally just existing to win, be financially strong, reach their quotas every season. And due to that demand, it means that you only care about the present instead of the future. I do think the only thing that breaks that is actually the manager that decides, because clubs will never tell managers who to play, who not to. But then, of course, they feel the pressure themselves because obviously, not only do they want to keep their jobs, but if you're lucky enough to play for a big team, I mean, you've been dreaming about winning things your whole life. You want to look back at trophies. This is how the game works. So it's definitely one of them contradictions that's a bit funny. But I guess what I'd want to hope is that if that's the reality, which I what can you do? You have to accept. let's just make it easy for these guys to reach their potential. Because for me, with the loan army, I didn't really feel like morally it was one of the best ways to like bring in consistent funds, in the sense that I mean you can just literally Google any player and they'll describe their experience being loaned left, right, and center.
It's all it's just never great.
That's what I mean. It's all mad, and yeah, you know, we kind of limited lots of we cut back a lot of potential, and basically what potential is, it's not even this like fantasy thing. It's just like a set of rules. Is how I see it. I think one of the key things that youngsters have to do, and look at Mason Mount.
Yeah.
The key difference between Mount from last season and this season, what do you think it is? If there was one thing you'd have to say, the key big difference between Mount.
Time.
I mean,
I think time. Because do you know what it is with Mason Mount? I think last season he did have a good season. You know, I think most top Premier League clubs, if they were to say that their young player had broken onto the scene with their first season and had that kind of season, they would say it's good. You've learned a lot. You've played a variety of positions. You've learned new instructions. You've learned and understood the tactical and defensive side of the game, which for most youngsters is actually the issue, not the talent part. Otherwise, you would never have got to where you was. And if you've seen him at Vitesse and at Derby, you would have known he had fundamental talents there that could be relied upon. It's about understanding the game. Do you know what I mean? The game at a high level is the finer details. And just look at the game that we played against Manchester City in the final. We didn't give De Bruyne any time on the ball, any space. The entry pass to even get to him was limited at times. And that's because players took up a position they had to take up. And those little finer details, if you don't take up that correct position as an attacking midfielder in that defensive shape, and you don't have the awareness or the understanding of where you need to be at said given time, that entry pass is not blocked. Next thing you know, De Bruyne's on the half turn and we've got problems. Yeah,
but you know what? Obviously, what you're saying is correct. But like in regards to the question, it wasn't what I was looking for.
Specific. You want specifics.
And it's not even that deep. Like the main difference between him is that he's a lot stronger. Like look at his physique from when he started in the team. Yeah, and look at him now. And you got to think, when you're a kid and you're making the step up, you're playing against fully seasoned grown men. And I'll give you one example. Look at how Mount gets in front of the ball and shields it.
Yeah,
could he have done that last season? Could he have done? He wasn't able to do that because he wasn't strong enough. And obviously, when you're playing at a big tempo all the time, you got grown, seasoned guys who, you know, they got their jobs, they got their clauses in their contract, they got their responsibilities to their manager. They will cut through an 18-year-old kid or 17-year-old kid and not even think about it. That's how the game is. You need to be able to handle yourself there. I think from having that strength, that's when the composure then comes, because you can handle yourself and you don't have to rush everything, because you don't have to worry about getting knocked on the floor, whatever. So I think that's definitely one of the big reasons behind it. And let's bring back Livermento. I mean, the reality is, he needs to get to that stage physically and that game time as well. Mount, he benefited from, when people were saying Teacher's pet, it was short sighted because you weren't seeing the vision. It wasn't about favoritism. It's about, you've now got that foundation here. Now you've got that PL experience that is, if you can get that at a young age, it goes a long way. And I don't know what the rule books are, because I don't really think there are rule books when it comes to introducing youngers to the first team.
No, there's different routes, clearly, isn't it? You can stay and be coached and then be improved like a Foden, or you can go out and loan like a Mason Mount. It really just depends on the individual. Yeah,
for real. But I think even then, even the successful loans literally come down to if they get played enough. And obviously, just learning how to handle yourself and make that next step up in your career. And I think, it's not even about a technical thing, because it's just like, obviously it's up to the manager that's going to tell players where to be, here, there, X, Y, Z. And obviously if you're not of a certain technique, you won't even be at the club anymore anyway. You know what I mean? So that's why I get a bit, I'll say I feel a bit sad in that sense, because it's like,
does it annoy you in any way that potentially, because I was speaking about on Twitter a lot in debates, and people feel like this is the final hurdle for Livermento. If we sign Hakimi, he will 100% not sign the new contract. They're linking that to him signing a new contract. I mean, let's keep it strictly to facts. He hasn't signed a new contract anyway. It may actually be James. Same with Tariq Lamptey, who didn't sign a new contract because of James as well. He may not even be signing it regardless. But I think it's difficult because there's clearly talent there, but I think once you're scouting someone world class, I think you have to prioritize that as a football club that strives, and clearly, especially from Tuchel's point of view, when you know that if potentially that is the difference maker between you coming second or winning the Premier League is signing that Hakimi that you've already had work under, you understand your instructions and what you look for in a team and your demands. Who's to say that he shouldn't prioritize his own job over bringing through that one more player that we would like, especially when we've already had quite a few come through already.
You're right.
And this is a player that has no minutes under his belt in the top flight. Of course, right now we can see the potential is there, and there's links to other clubs and whatnot, and we know the heartbreak is going to be there if he starts thriving for other clubs, and we're gonna feel a type of way. But at the end of the day, he would have to exceed Hakimi's level to have that real clear regret that we haven't chosen the right decision. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, you're right. And it reminds me of obviously what I'd hear Real Madrid fans say at the time when, it's a very similar debate. You know what I mean? Hakimi coming through their ranks, obviously, mad potential, mad ability. That's why we're now looking to sign him. And of course, Carvajal was the guy blocking him in the team. And, of course, it's that eternal debate about, the now and the present. And it's weird that there's not too many examples of like clubs finding that balance. You know what I mean? Is it old-fashioned to think you'd have to one experienced guy and the young underneath? Maybe not, because of like how
it's just an easier transition, isn't it?
Yeah. It's definitely mad. But obviously, I'd have to accept it. I still think he'd have a great career, and to be honest, we're a club that we don't have no qualms going back to sign players that we know already. So, you know what I mean? As long, all I'm saying is, my main thing is, if we ain't no plan to use him right now, I don't want him to limit the potential like we did to so many guys back then. You know what I mean? So many.
We have to not be selfish about that. Yeah,
that's what I mean. But they're prioritizing the money we're making off them, their careers, contract lengths, all that type of nonsense. Where not guys who are trying to make it in the game. You want to do that with seasoned guys like your Drinkwaters, even though I think it's BS still. I can see it, but as long as we're not going to be ruining potential, then I'll accept it.
I Test Merchant, yes, love seeing you guys to link up again. Of course, prior to get matched up for you guys at the end of the season and now in the transfer window, so much to discuss. Kevin Fraser, champions of Europe, we know what we are. He says the same thing every time, and I love it. It never gets old, Kevin. I'll tell you that now.
Let's go, man.
I feel we don't create too many high quality chances. I think that's what I Test Merchant is trying to say. No,
he's right. He's definitely right.
I think we could definitely do better in that department, but I must say, there's something that this team lacks in terms of scoring out from nothing, in terms of long distance shooting and having that special moment, where freak goals can be scored. Because it's not every day you have to create a high quality tap-in chance like a Manchester City to put the ball in the back of the net. Where was those, high quality chances under Lampard and Essien when they were smashing them from 30 yards? They weren't high quality chances. They were just, I feel like that type of balance needs to be restored. And when Tuchel's created this system, of course, you want it to continue to be refined and improved, and you're always striving for perfection. But we do create, for me, enough chances to have a better conversion rate than we already do. And I think the finishing is 100% the main issue. And I think it's a priority. And I don't know about you, Nii, but I wouldn't put Hakimi in the top 2 priority for me. I'd still keep it striker and DM. And then, as I like to say, Hakimi, is something that you get fancy with after you've got the priorities. But to segue into the striker, because obviously Erling Haaland was linked as well for a good week now. I mean, what do you make of that? Because there's so much going on with that deal in terms of, first of all, how does he fit in? Who does he partner with? Does it suit Timo Werner, who's a second striker hybrid type player? And of course, the finances and the agent. But we'll start with just team play. How does that work for you?
Listen, man. Pay the money is what I'm saying. Let's pay the money. You know what I mean? I think I see enough from this guy to know that I don't have to worry about, is he going to live up to the price tag and stuff? I think his character and his personality. And I think there's them type of intangibles sometimes where we focus on sometimes like their technique and stuff all the time. But also, we forget about them intangibles like the mentality. You know what I mean? Because like ultimately sport is a competition. You know what I mean? And when you're competing, it's about who's going to overcome the other man. And obviously, to do that, there's a certain mindset you need to have. I look at Haaland, I see how he moves in the fields. You know what I mean? He knows he's a big guy. and that's not raining his confidence down at all. You see how, you know, if his teammates getting knocked down, he's running there to square up to people, you know what I mean? But seeing how he gets him, you know, nasty with the defender if he has to, you know what I mean? Likeable personality. Everyone seems to like him at Dortmund as well. There's all them ingredients there too. And, you know, he's just had a history of just performing, you know, back when he was at Salzburg. And I remember, like, first time even hearing about him was when he scored like the 9 goals for the Norwegian under 21. So it's like, I don't even see that on Football Manager or you know what I mean? Or that's like on FIFA. Like, immediately it's got my attention straight away. But you know, for me, even the finances are absolute nonsense. I mean, that's just a different conversation about the money that's infiltrated in the game. But my thing is, I look at Kai, and of course, last season there was talks that he could be leaving this summer, and if he had done that, he wouldn't have scored the winning goal in the Champions League final. And I think maybe, you know, if I was Haaland, his camp, his team, they're the type of moments you can miss out on if you want to strategize like everything too deep. Too much, yes. I do think that, you know, if there's a will on the way, you need to sign him up, because I feel like, you know, he's one of those guys where you don't need to create like the perfect chance for him to score. Like one thing I actually mentioned in a Werner reaction video I did before we signed him, I was reacting to his goals he scored, like all like whatever he scored for Leipzig, and you know, they were like the similar type of goal. You know what I mean? It was always like a pattern behind how he was scoring, and that was like, oh, okay, that's because, you know, that's how he complements the system. That's how that all works together. But
the high line, left channel.
Yeah, exactly. But with the great players, they can fashion something out of nothing. They can make it happen themselves, and I mean, that's what I see Haaland do. So I mean, you know, it's not very often we've ever been, not since Eden Hazard have we been linked with like one of the pinnacle top tier under like 21 talents, you know, Galazzo talents in the world. And, you know, the stars have aligned again after that Champions League win.
Yeah.
It's hard to take advantage and go for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're linked with a player of that ilk, you have to take advantage of it, because again, Chelsea's conversion rate speaks for itself in the Premier League. Our top scorer in the league was Jorginho. That in itself is a damn right. You know what I mean? That in itself, it should have the alarm bells ringing, people, if it's not already. And, you know, I think so far, when I look at the range of strikers that we have, I've always said they all have a certain weakness to them. They all have something that they need to drastically improve on for them to really be an out-and-out starter, whether that's Giroud not having the mobility, which that's not something you can control, obviously. Chasing Henry's record, shout out to him for France. But he doesn't have the mobility to work in a counter-pressing striker system, especially for a lot of modern managers. They tend to go with those players that can press from the front and you know, they can cover angles in a defensive shape. The defending starts from the front. You saw it with Pep. You know, Aguero wasn't doing the running that he needed him to do because of age and breakdown over injury. And straight goes Gabriel Jesus into the team, who's nowhere near as clinical, as technically gifted. However, he's going to defend from the front and he's going to start that press. And you can see that this season with Werner, with Mount, you know, these guys starting higher up the pitch and really, you know, not only being a threat on the counter, but also they're stopping, defensive, issues that could take place behind us by defending from the front. I think I have to ask though, because I think Harry Kane for me was never a realistic target. I always said that it was always something that was a pipe dream. We're never going to really negotiate with Tottenham. If you guys remember the Modric deal way back when, that was again another example of Levy not dealing with us, unfortunately, because what a player he became. But Harry Kane, that kind of striker, I feel like would have suited Timo Werner a lot more in terms of his playmaking ability, his ability to drop deep, have that vision, spray that pass. Werner would be your Son, who would make that run into that left channel and behind. With Haaland, I don't quite get that same feeling. And I think to myself, if Haaland does come, I would prefer to see, I think, Mason Mount and Kai Havertz behind him with that link-up play, that interchangeable, ability to be able to take up different roles, whether it be out wide, funnel the ball in between the lines, like Mason Mount did for that goal for Kai Havertz in the Champions League final. I think Kai Havertz has got a passing range to be shown in this league that he hasn't quite shown yet. At Leverkusen, he was creative as well for them at times before he moved into the false nine role. So, but Haaland is the guy you want on the end of chances, running with his head down, as he does, and not the guy, spraying the passing behind for Timo Werner. So do you worry about, it's not a worry because of course you always want options, but do you see it the same way as I do, that those, Kai Havertz and Mason Mount in this formation would have to be your guys of Erling Haaland just behind it and not a Timo Werner.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting. Of course, like when he plays for Norway, I was speaking to Joe Tweedy. Shout out Joe Tweedy. Of course, he knows everything about Scandinavian football. They don't play the same way like he does at Dortmund. And I look at Haaland and I think we need to. I mean, he's 20 years old, so I mean, this guy's not complete, and he still has a lot to learn, and there's more things he can add to his game. So, he's shown that he's got the finishing sorted. I don't know. I can always kind of see him as like a Cavani type of player, and I think Cavani is so intelligent that he can play with so many different players and different people. Like when we see Haaland, he's not just like necessarily the one that is like a Timo Werner on the last line looking to running behind. I mean, like look at the Sevilla game in the Champions League where he was dropping deeper, receiving and starting the counter-attacking moves to link up, and you know what I mean. I think that's what he can do, and it kind of reminded me like how Drogba would do that for us back in the day too. So, I definitely feel like he has a lot more to his game. And I feel like because he can create more possibilities to score. I mean, one of the most powerful shots right now in Europe, that left foot is deadly. Of course, for me, that ability to win a 50-50, like when the ball crosses in the air, you need to try and get in front of that defender to, you strain all your neck muscles, direct that ball into the net, like we see with your Drogbas and your Costas, etc. I see us putting delivery like that, and I've seen Werner fall on the floor, for example. Because I mean, I'm not saying that to disparage him. It's just not his game to be doing.
He said it himself that physically this league has been challenging for him. So
yeah, I'd imagine that. And I mean, we could even have a different streamers talking about, is football just getting too fast paced for the sake of it? I mean, obviously, we were talking about things like Gabriel Jesus pressing from the front. That's modern day football, isn't it? The team's more important than the individual.
Yeah.
But then we all love football for what the individuals was doing on the pitch. You know what I mean? And if you were to think about like classic moments this season in the Premier League, what even stands out really? Like I remember back in the day, like a Rooney bicycle kick or a Van Persie volley, or just moments like that.
Two guys from a corner or something.
Yeah, I was. This is something I've been thinking about all day. I can't think of one spectacular
Bentley against Arsenal. Something.
Yeah, you know what I mean. That's what I mean.
Classics, man. 4-4s
We're not seeing that
in the big games.
And maybe that's what modern coaching's done in sports science, where players are just running at such a pace. I mean, I was reading something about how there's look at what happened to Eze at Crystal Palace. Another Achilles injury. They seem to be becoming more rampant. And when I was reading into it, a lot of it comes from like overstress and overtear, and getting these guys to be playing 100 miles an hour as it's American football all the time. I mean, what's going to be the end to it? But I mean, that's a side for a different day. Haaland's. Yeah, I mean, you're making me say Haaland now. For me, got to splash money in and sign him up, to be honest. I think this guy leading the line, face of the club too. I think for me, man, I've been saying it for a very long time. Dynasty, legacy club. I've been looking at my your Bayern Munich's, your Madrid's, your Barca's clubs every decade are in the people's mouths are winning things. Every young player, the best players want to play for them. This is our decade now to try and cement that. We have the manager now. I feel like I look at Tuchel, he's like he has like some of the best parts of every manager we've had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I look at the young team we have, guys like Mount at his age is on a different level to what Frank was back when he was 22 playing for us. You know what I mean? I feel like we're already at a much bigger advantage than we've ever been. And now's the time to do it right and ride it all the way out now.
I agree. I've said it before. I think Tuchel, for me, out of all the managers we've had in the last few years, I think he's the one that embodies all the best traits out of all of them, whether that be from a public, speaking standpoint, bringing through the youth, being pragmatic and knowing when to defend and when to attack, having that balance, that tactical flexibility as well, and just being a good people's person as well, and clearly being able to mesh with the fans, with the squad. Which is very important, very underrated trait. You need to be able to have that ability to connect. And, I think if Timo Werner as well, just to circle back to that finally, I think if Timo Werner can link up with Haaland, you are in for a very problematic, for opposition defenses situation there, because Timo Werner, we've already seen can stretch defenses. He stretched the defense in the final goal in the Champions League final that gave Havertz that space. If he can create that kind of space for Haaland with his runs and stretching defenses, that is going to be a recipe for disaster there with that. So it's going to be interesting, but it's good to have quality options in that attack. I have to ask you then, because obviously, there's always not even a con, I guess, because listen, I think Haaland, in terms of ability and where he is stature-wise, is very high in comparison to Abraham. But I think Abraham, he seems to be on his way out, as the striker that's on his way out now with limited game time under Tuchel. He's been kind of offered up, it seems, in this swap deal with Dortmund and, linked to West Ham with the Declan Rice situation and all that kind of stuff as well. I mean, what do you hope for Tammy Abraham? Because we spoke about it earlier briefly about just wanting our own homegrown players to actually do well. Not always about them doing it here. If they can't do it here, just have good careers so we can say, listen, they came from us. And do you know what I mean? We just keep pushing this talent out. You guys are all welcome. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we're feeding clubs for cheap, for nothing. I mean, you look at Tomori, how's this guy comes to AC Milan? He's kicked out their captain out their team. And because of him in the defense, it's helped them become a better team. You know what I mean? That's just, I think that's everyone who works in the academy should be proud. And I think that's one of the selling features to get the next Lennon all the time. If you don't make it here, you're going to be having a bad boy career regardless. So I don't know. I feel like I think Tammy, ideally, I'd love if Dortmund were interested. I think he'd easily fit there. And when I'm saying Mitchell about try banging the goals, and Marco Reus was saying, get this guy signed up. I think Tammy's a very intelligent guy. I'm always going to say this, that, he was adapting to a new role because he's only ever been a last line on the shoulder type of guy. And, to change your game like that and still get good a goal return that guys have cost, 50 million many a time.
Many times haven't done,
It definitely says you're doing something right, in my opinion. And I don't know, part of me feels like, this is someone you have in the squads because not only is it great competition, not only will he improve as well, but you get like a guaranteed amount of goals.
Yeah.
And, let's say Werner became a 15-goal a season striker, whatever, or 18-goal a season striker. Nah, it's not really like what you paid for because you thought he was going to be getting in 25, 30. But I guarantee people will be more than happy with that. And talking about the other aspects of this game, like his teamwork and how he's running in behind and the tactical stuff and all that jazz, basically. So I don't know. I feel like that's what you get with Tammy, but I don't know. Maybe Kai Havertz changed that. I think the minute that Tuchel decided he has to play further forward and not in midfield like what Frank was doing, then naturally, if you were planning on getting a striker too, I mean, you can't have three. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I think Tammy, clubs are looking at him. I'm hoping he goes abroad. I think right now it's the best thing for English players to do. Go abroad, play there, and you know what I mean? When he's 26, how many he develops and plays week in, week out,
We'll never know what we could be, people, I wouldn't be surprised if, Tomori or Tammy, people are saying, listen, let's get them back. Do you know what I mean? It's they are not at their peak yet. And to be this, to be doing this well, in their first season or, in their second season, going to AC Milan on loan, it's very promising. So, the journey's not the same for everyone.
Too. Champions League next season, we're going to be seeing there. And of course, the comps, people can get the comps ready on Twitter. The propaganda is going to be just different. So, man. Yeah. I think they'll have good careers regardless, to be honest.
Yeah, that's all I really hope for them at this point, to be honest. I think they've both proven their point to some degree. And they're part of that first batch that broke through, and that's going to go down regardless. And Tammy's got a Champions League medal as well. So I think to segue nicely onto English players moving overseas, Loftus-Cheek was linked to Lazio with a certain Maurizio Sarri. First of all, for me, I think to myself, this could be a breath of fresh air for Loftus-Cheek. I think he's been under the microscope in the Premier League for a while now, going on loan to Palace first, then coming back here, getting that injury and then going out on loan to Fulham, and obviously not the most consistent, greatest time from there. Definitely not enough on paper to come back into this team of Champions League winners and break in, if I'm honest. I think you'd have to immensely impress Tuchel over pre-season for that to be in the discussion, because just on face value of the loan, it wasn't the loan that people wanted in the first place for him. And the same would probably go down with Ethan Ampadu as well. But if he got this permanent move to Lazio or a loan deal, I mean, how would you feel about that? Because I feel like we've all got definitely emotional attachment to Loftus-Cheek because we know how badly he wants to make it here the key word being here. Do you know what I mean? He desperately wanted to make it here. But I look at the direction we're going in now, especially in what can be looked at as a midfield that like to counter press. A lot of energy needs to be involved. We just spoke about modern football and it becoming a fast-paced game. Do you feel like going to Italy where maybe the game's a bit slower, under a manager that he's used to as well, hopefully playing in a system that he can get into? I mean, do you think that's the best move for him now?
I think there's so many angles to come at this. I don't know. I think the first thing I'd say is that like sometimes, like I'm okay with accepting like the type of role like a player is, like what their game is based on. Like for example, I'd say that Ruben is part of the Yaya Toure family in terms of, you know what I mean, the family where they play
ball carriers.
I mean? Yeah, and it's like, are you going to be getting Yaya Toure to be pressing from the front? No, but I mean, today you probably would, and then you're missing out on one of the best midfield players we've ever seen in the Premier League. From what I was reading today, they were saying that maybe Lazio have had secret talks with him from 2 years back when he, obviously was potential talks about a loan move from back then. Okay. And it feels like it makes a lot of sense because you look at how Lazio play, that back three where Lazio is box-to-box mids. And I think that's been the ultimate thing with Ruben. Too often, I think players get written off when they get used out of position. And I'm sorry, like if you had, for example, like an Iniesta and he went to Fulham. If you're a Fulham fan, if you're a Fulham fan and you thought, oh, we've got Iniesta, this means we're going to be challenging for Europe. You've lost your mind because football is not like that, where individuals will just solely have that much of an influence by themselves. And at the same time, in guys like Parker are sometimes easy on the right and the left up front in a cam position. It's not serious. So I don't necessarily care that he didn't do nothing there because I think if you had even if Ronaldo went Fulham, like is he going to get anywhere close to the goal outtake, for example? This would never happen because they don't have the support around him. The big thing for me is the fact that the first time ever injury free.
Yeah, big accomplishment for him.
Yeah, I think it's a shame because obviously he was able to get over his little back strains before, and then of course that fateful, crazy friendly where we just literally it's one of the craziest decisions I've ever seen at this club, and the impact he had and how important he was too. It's just it's just absolutely stupid to me in my opinion. But for me, considering how we play under Tuchel is interesting. I mean, we've been talking about we've been creating hypotheticals based on information we know now, but then everything could be different a month from now when Tuchel's got the guys during pre-season and maybe more info comes out in regards to plans for tactics for next season that we're not even thinking about or even realizing. And ideally I'm hoping that at least Tuchel has them for pre-season to watch him.
Yeah.
And if it was them ones where, Ruben wants to, really play a lot more football and, fully get back to how he was feeling, then I think Lazio would be a great move. I think breaking under Sarri, he already knows the system and what's expected of him. And in a team with Lazio where he can play in his best role, something which he's never really been able to do because people, I get it, pressing from the front, that side of the game is very important. But sometimes it comes to a point where it's just certain players, not every player is supposed to do that. And let's look at Tuchel when he went to Paris Saint-Germain.
Neymar.
You'd imagine, you'd best believe you'd love if Neymar and Mbappe and Co did that. Could have made his life a lot easier, but they're not ever going to be those guys. That's why Pochettino's struggling there because he's thinking, hold on. You want to speak running around crazy like where this is Tottenham FC. I'm Di Maria that's won a Champions League at Real Madrid, and I've got a career that your previous could only dream of. I'm one of the best ever Brazilian players. I'm Mbappe that won my country a World Cup. This is the type of characters that you need to know. Okay, this is what the level's like. Okay, this is not going to run here basically. So I feel like Ruben. Let's see what happens with Tuchel. But I do think the Lazio is very promising, playing in the Europa League as well. And, he's only 25 years old. So, you know what I mean? It's not like he's close to retiring or nothing. So, it could be potentially a decent move if it works out like that.
Yeah, I think he's one of those players, again, I just want to see him flourish and at least live up to the potential and the ability that a lot of us spoke about. Because I mean, when outsiders are looking in, I think they don't get the context of the injury and how massive that was in his setback, and just how great he was under Sarri for those few months as well, with Hazard and Hudson during that Europa League run. Like, it was ridiculous, his influence. He was the second best player in the team for me at that time when he was balling. That that goal against Brighton with him and Hazard both mirroring the same goal. It was crazy back then. Crazy.
That's that connection they had to, where, like, if you're playing that type of football with Hazard, you can't be a joke. You can't be like speaking it. Like, it's got to be a natural talent you have. And obviously, Ruben, like, from what I've heard about the guy, obviously, he's very well respected by a lot of, like, the academy guys. They was looking at Ruben when he was having his breakout season, like, you actually can make it and do it here. And obviously I hear, like, he's like a big brother to a lot of these guys as well. So this is a very well respected player that we're talking about. And maybe it's just because I like him and it's like my own personal thing, but when I see him getting unfairly written off, or like his time at Fulham being used against him, or things like, he's a flop, he's been around, not done nothing, it's just typical Prem stuff where, the details no one cares about, because your opinion is based on what we saw match of the day. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, man, they can't run like that.
This chat saying, what do you think about Palafreur as a new Tottenham manager? Apparently they're in talks. I honestly, I haven't even processed. Are
you
that
serious?
And it's been up on the screen.
Palafreur.
Palafreur.
Paulo Francesca. Paulo Francesca.
Sorry.
I was thinking, what?
I read that Palafreur immediately. I was like, what? Okay, cool. I'm good now.
Obviously, let's not forget, he had a very nice Shakhtar Donetsk team that played a very nice football. And obviously, Roma, they're one of them clubs where every time you're about to do something, you have to sell players, because obviously that's how you got to run. So, I think he's a good manager, knows how to play good football, and for me, that's the type of moves that Spurs should be making, to be honest.
I don't think
that's like when they got Pochettino. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, it's like when they got Poch the first time. Like, of course you're gonna get him, because obviously you're trying to get to a level that you're not on, and when you get on, I'm not too sure, to be honest. And I think Francesca, I'm hearing things about Marcus Thuram too from Gladbach going there. I mean, let them do them. You know what I mean? I think right now, I don't even know what's happening underneath me anymore, man. We're being linked with Haaland, we're being linked with top players here, and we're thinking about bigger and better things. So, I don't even care about that club, to be honest.
Shame. It's beautiful to see the rest of London falling apart around
us. That's what I mean, bruv. Well, you know what's funny? Sorry. I was going to say, don't you think it's mad, the disrespect we've been getting, even though we've even won a Champions League, even though we've beaten most of these big teams consecutively throughout the season, and it still comes across as like, it's just Chelsea that defend, or I don't get it. Like, I've been trying to understand.
Play some really good football, in my opinion. I love the way that we transition. Do you know what I mean? I love the way that we transition. We do it quickly, with intent. We're precise.
And if we
had taken our chance against Real Madrid, I'm telling you, we could have beaten them about 4-0. It really was one of those games. I think people sleep on this team, man, but listen, I think London now, London's kind of wrapped up. There's not really any discussion there.
London's been wrapped up, man.
It's been wrapped up. Now it's a different situation.
Of course, come on now. I mean, I'm hearing DT telling me he hasn't even watched a Champions League final. Thinking, bruv, like, what I'm actually listening to right now. You know what I mean?
He's the last person that needs to convert his DT. Troops has converted. Bless up. You know what I mean? He's converted. He understands. It's just DT now. We just need how to work. It's not mad. It's just a light word, little discussion.
That's a little bit of respect. Just understand that you know the levels. That's all.
You'll understand very soon. Do you know what I mean? If he doesn't already.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Sam says Hakimi is so good. Can't wait for his pace in GA. Well, let's see. Let's see if we can get the deal wrapped up, my bro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Someone's going to finish the chances. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The striker's got to come in. It's definitely an A1 target there. Obi-Wan says, did they just swap managers with Roma Elamir?
Oh yeah, they basically just did, didn't they?
Oh God. Well, if it happens, I think if it gets confirmed, then definitely. Two more players I want to bring up to circle back to the Hakimi link, because obviously I think he does affect some of these players playing in this attacking midfield area, which is very congested right now in Hudson-Odoi and Ziyech, because You know, we know he can. You know, we're bringing him mainly for his attacking intent. We've defensively with Aspi and Reece, we've got it down. Christensen as well coming back in that right side centre back position. He's shown what he can do. So I think this is definitely from an attacking standpoint. We're looking to bring this guy in potentially, and really that was the same with Adama Traore with those links as well. From an attacking perspective, man, I mean Ziyech. First of all, with him, I mean, before we go on to Hudson-Odoi, who seems like he wants to stay under Tuchel, and I think I've seen enough in terms of aftermath off the pitch at full time, emotion, tactical instruction, dedication, investment from Tuchel to Hudson-Odoi to say that I think he rates him and I think he wants to nurture, look after him and grow him and develop him. So I don't really see him leaving, and if he wants to stay, then that's kind of clear cut for me, despite Bayern's interest. But when it comes to Ziyech, I mean, how do you look upon his time? Because for me, even though he wasn't a player that I really wanted in favour of, I wanted Sancho, I think it would be very harsh to get rid of him after one season with all the context that surrounds him, with the Dutch league finishing early, and then he picked up an injury at the start of the season, and he picked up another one after getting form, and then a change of manager. Like, I am sympathetic to those massive issues in this first season. It's not easy, despite him being in his prime and me wanting impact from him because obviously his age. So where do you stand on Ziyech if he was to potentially exit? Because those are the rumours, isn't it? Not fitting into the system.
I mean, Ziyech is one of those characters like back in Holland. He's one of those guys that doesn't take nothing from no one. Like back when he was younger, growing up within his career, he was given like a bad boy reputation because anytime you know, if you don't agree with what a manager's saying, which I think any man's entitled to, it's your career and it's all adults in this game, then you know, for some reason it's this old school mentality of, you know, you're the teacher, you're this pupil, you got to listen. I don't want like that for me, but but yeah, Ziyech, man, if he left, it wouldn't be because he was kicked out. It would be because he wanted to go, because he's thinking, bro, I can't play my football here. And one of the reasons why he stayed at Ajax for so long was because he was looking for the right move. So obviously, when we signed him in the summer, I was like, right, to sign Ziyech means that football's going to be played a certain way here, there, etc., etc. And you know, last season we saw the briefest glimpses of that. Yeah. And then of course the injury came, and then when he gets back, Tuchel's there, and then back three comes, and then of course one of the attacking spots is gone, and you know, then you want Ziyech to be, you know, I saw Tuchel not using him right, to be honest, and I don't blame him because, you know, he's a collectivist manager. He's going to prioritize the team. You know what I mean? He's probably thinking, bro, my time at Paris Saint-Germain, can't be going back to clubs like that. I need to make sure these guys know how to work. And I'm seeing Ziyech doing things I've never seen before, like having to make runs in the books or in behind, sometimes playing false nine, trying to do the Mason Mount role, which ain't his game type of thing. You know, he's a guy, you know, it's like one of the Sancho type of Neymar type of players, you know, like you have him in them positions where he's receiving wides. He's got infinite options. He can play overlapping pass to the fullback overlapping, you know what I mean? He can cut insides. If he cuts inside, is he going to take a shot? Is he going to slot someone in? Is he going to play a ball to switch the play? Or is he going to play a through ball over the top? Like, that's what you get. And, you know, even the stats have shown, even though, you know, he hasn't been able to show it consistently, the fact that the numbers are still relatively, you know, up there, considering the lack of minutes, it says something about the class of the player, to be honest. You know, like, it's a hard one because if he goes, he's not a flop, but then, of course, he'll be seen as one.
He didn't cost much as well. And I think because he didn't cost much, it puts him in a difficult position as a player that there isn't as much investment on him in comparison to Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, and he isn't, you know, in terms of reclaiming your value for him from a Marina business perspective. She's going to see that as quite an easy task, and I think you probably would get your value back straight away, really. And then on top of that as well, I think to myself with Ziyech, in this very highly competitive position, especially if you're to stick with this formation, he screams out for me a player that needs to be playing regularly. I think when he's in the team playing game in, game out, he can start to establish chemistry with others, develop that free role that he had at Ajax, taking up different positions, moving inside, getting on the ball, having the most touches so he can try the most things. And I think if you use him as this impact player and he doesn't play every game and then he can't establish the relationship on the pitch, it becomes more inconsistent for him. And I think to myself, is he actually going to be a consistent starter here? with what we've seen from Mason Mount in particular, because I think Kai, from a club perspective, you should have already known Kai was going to play in a similar type role to him,
of course,
up the pitch. But I think Mason Mount in this change of formation has really shaken the waves a bit, because he was, looking at playing in the number 8 role in a 3, and now suddenly he's playing, in Ziyech's role quite a lot of the time in that right channel, and he's doing a brilliant job as well. So I think to myself, almost Ziyech could become a victim of circumstance where not really anybody's fault, but it doesn't really make sense to keep him along with Havertz, especially if you're going to keep Hudson-Odoi and you've got a lot of trust in him, and then Mount as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've got nothing to even add to that. I think that was, I think you just summarized the whole situation. If that happens, it happens in the sport sometimes, new manager, new ideas. Not every player complements that. I feel like maybe the narrative doesn't have to be, this must prove he's a flop, because the game don't work like that. But, if it happens, it's a shame. Me personally, I've always loved watching him. I think he's top class, and it'll be a shame because we didn't fully see what he's really, really about. But hey, it happens, No,
it really does. And we're going to wrap up soon, people. But I just to finalize this DM situation as well. I know you're a big fan of Tuchel, and obviously Declan Rice is heavily linked as well. I mean, I haven't watched Tuchel much at all from Monaco, so I've really just been reading up on what everybody else is saying and the player profile reports and all the analysis that everybody else is doing on him. And when Cesc Fabregas is speaking highly of you, you must have something about you. You know what I mean? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out. But just in terms of because obviously Declan Rice, we know what we're getting there if you're looking at that DM slot. I mean, in terms of your priorities as well, where would you rank the positions for you in your head in terms of importance?
It's definitely from top to bottom, basically. I mean, so it's a striker at all costs. Like we said before, if we difference, but like Tchouaméni, again, he's a modern day midfield player. Like Declan, he can play in a 2, play in a 3. He can play as a holding midfielder as well, breaks up the play, and it's how they move the ball. That's the most impressive thing. For me, it's them ones where, like if you were to say things like, okay, who's a better player like back in the day, like Xavi or Xabi Alonso, I don't really feel like it becomes a bit redundant, because then what type of details are you looking for to compare who's better? I just think it's all about tiers. Yeah, a certain level, that's all it is. And I think
you're all together at that point.
That's what I mean. And I think that's the same thing with Rice and Tchouaméni. Either one, I'm happy with. Rice, of course, him coming back, him developing to be one of a future world-class midfield player, in my opinion. The way he moves the ball as well, pace, both-footed as well, between the lines, long, and when he defends too, he knows how to, as you were saying before, when you press on the front, getting them angles, the close up positions, etc., etc. That's what Rice is very good at when it comes to defending on the counter attack. He knows, it's like Christensen, he knows how to slow a runner down. He knows how to move them into areas he wants them to go to. That's very intelligent stuff. And Tchouaméni as well can do the same thing. One of the most instrumental figures for Monaco last season. Very good technically, very good on the ball. I mean, this guy was playing as a deep line playmaker at Bordeaux before he went to Monaco. And for me, let's say you're a big club and you have your DM position, your left back, whatever. I mean, what separates those positions at the big clubs compared to other ones is that those players can do a lot more. They're not just a fullback and that's all they're ever going to be. They can do a ton more on the ball because their level is that high. So, it's exciting. And, I remember speaking to Alex about this, it'd be nice if in the future, we had both these guys in our team. I think that they're, for me, two of the most Chelsea midfield players in the market right now. Imagine in the future, looking at a team 3 years from now that has both Mount, Rice, it's just, domination, man.
Be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, to answer as well this comment, Adrian, I think 100% the competition would look to improve. That Luke Shaw, Teller's example at Man United is there as well, and obviously Man United having 4 forwards at one point with Tevez, Rooney, Ronaldo. That was borderline illegal. But I think the key here is that keeping it healthy competition. I think the fact that Hakimi can play multiple positions allows there to be competition and a threat to your place, but at the same time, you can incorporate both. And the same goes for Timo Werner, being able to play, the lone striker role against the high lines like he did against Liverpool at Anfield, but also being able to play the left, second striker hybrid role when you've got that focal point up front as well. It's, having that little bit of positional versatility, which allows composition to be healthy in the squad. So, and it also allows for flexibility tactically. But we're going to wrap up now, people. It's been a great stream. We've covered everything I wanted to cover. I was really looking forward to get this done because I wanted to speak on everything in real detail. The London show was carnage as per usual, but I needed to calm it down and just talk tactics with my guy. So, NiiNii, let us know, bro. Obviously, the link is in the description. Where can they find you? And let them know what content's coming up. Of course, the Euros is starting on Friday as well. So what's going on, man? Oh, maybe he's just frozen. No, just as we was getting the plug. I think he might be frozen, people. Let me give him a minute. But let me tell you, just as we're waiting for him to unfreeze, hopefully, the content that's coming in the chat. Just as we're waiting for him to unfreeze, hopefully. It's a great pose there, I must say. I'm personally, my content that's coming out, All You Can Eat Chelsea is obviously going to be on Thursday, 11 a.m. tomorrow. The Euro campaign, like I said, is starting on Friday as well. So we're looking forward to covering that. It'll be back in a minute, hopefully, to plug. And the Euros, like I said, Turkey are kicking off, I believe. Are they? Turkey? No, Italy. I can't remember. I think someone's kicking off on Friday. I need to check because I'm meant to be going somewhere for that as well to cover that. But content will be coming up daily, people. As I said, the chat, man. You people are funny. Do you know what it is? Yeah, since I've come to London, my Wi-Fi has been pretty on point, I feel. So now it's the mic situation, which you guys have been complaining about as well. But hopefully it's not that bad. I hope not, because this is quite an expensive mic. It's not me. Don't be saying my Wi-Fi, because my Wi-Fi is clearly doing its job. So don't even be coming with that. But like I said, check out NiiNii's content as well. The link is in the description. Let me just see if he's texted me because I don't know. Yeah, I think his Wi-Fi kind of messed up. Let me see. The timing is absolutely shocking, honestly, because we're actually just about to wrap up. Let me see. Oh, okay, just bugged out. Oh, damn. I'll plug you. All right. I'll let them know. All right, so people, like I said, the link is in the description. Victor's put it in the chat as well. Check out NiiNii's. Is it too low? So the mic's too low. Okay, I'll check. I'll play around with the volume then because it's just a setting. Check out NiiNii's content on his channel. Link is in the description. Like I said, I've been kind of quoting a few parts of his video that I've seen there. He's done a really good piece on Hakimi in terms of just player analysis, looking at his best moments last season and just what he can bring to the team. And we've seen a lot of moments from our own team in terms of anticipation from the striker, in terms of not quite capitalizing on chances, not finishing. Great crosses from Reece James, being a toe or two just apart from the ball and not really being quick enough. And I think, these are the advantages you're looking to take advantage of with Hakimi and a Haaland link up. But as he's shown, he's already worked with Haaland, he's worked with Lukaku as well. So he's got that chemistry and connection that we're looking for. So people, we're going to wrap up. Someone's asking me to do a spaces. I will try, but I must say I'm absolutely jam-packed with a lot of content on YouTube in the coming days. Big Six is tonight at 10 p.m. People, don't forget, if you want to see me on Big Six, that's on Turkish's channel at 10 p.m. If you're wondering what Big Six is, it's a playlist on my features on YouTube. You go to playlist, Big Six is there. I've saved every single one if you don't know where to find it. Obviously, All You Can Eat Chelsea is on tomorrow. Rants, I'll be on tomorrow on his channel as well. I'll be on Dammy's channel tomorrow as well. So as you can tell, spaces, it's going to be difficult to fit it in, my brother, but we'll try. Smash the likes if you enjoyed the stream. And yeah, subscribe if you're new. I will see you guys next time, tomorrow at 11 a.m. or on Big Six tonight. And I hope you enjoyed because it's a double upload and we've got videos coming soon as the Mac gets fixed. Oh, I can't wait for that. So in a bit, people, thank you so much. And I'll see you in a bit. Peace.
Perfect.